Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And here it is, the last one. What is the most fun, or what am I most excited to check out tier list based on the healers that are going to be available for Dragonflight? This tier list is going to be constructed with a lot of things in mind, but the main focus is going to be longevity. So how long do I think that I can play this specialization before I get bored of it? Obviously, picking a class and investing in it and gearing it up and learning how to play it and getting good at it. You don't want to end up being bored with it and like, oh no, I have to do that all again on a new character now. Or maybe you do want to do that and you just want to play everything. But if you're somebody who maybe doesn't have a lot of time, it's really important that you invest in something that you know you're going to get enjoyment out of for a prolonged period of time. I'm also somebody who likes a high skill ceiling, so something to always pursue in terms of mastery and what could I have done better from the last time that I played it. That type of deal is very important to me. The next major component is new toys. You know, what new goodies is this spec getting? Is it getting something really cool? Is there a bunch of different combinations I can try that weren't previously available to this specialization? Those are like the two major components that's gonna like be getting me going, like really excited about trying this specialization out, and just take that into account, because these lists that are based on most fun or most exciting are subjective to the person, and those are the two major points that these specs are vying for. If those are points that are important to you, for the reasons that I've just explained, then obviously this tier list is going to be really appropriate for you. And if you want to stay up to date with news and changes related to World of Warcraft, so you're always ahead of the competition, then do make sure to hit the subscribe button. I appreciate your support and my long-term goal of getting to 100,000 subscribers. So hopefully one day there will be something on the wall here, the little YouTube plaque, instead of just nothing, an endless void like my heart and my soul. But other than that, let's get started with the tier list here. Discipline Priest. This was my S tier healer for Shadowlands in terms of most fun. I love the Atonement playstyle. I love doing damage to heal and trying to min-max both elements, keeping your team just alive enough that you can, squeeze in a few hits of damage to try and get your damage up on the scoreboard. Super fun healer. It still is retaining a lot of those elements moving into the next expansion. Has a bunch of different ways to customize its character now, with different like Shadow Covenant options if you want to focus more on the shadow side of the spells available to you, or if you want to focus more on the power word shield, reflective shield types of builds. You have a lot of different things available to you. You're getting Light's Wrath return, although personally I haven't noticed it be super impactful. I was hoping maybe it gets tuned up a little bit, because Light's Wrath was a really fun ability on Discipline Priest in Legion. But then in the baseline priest tree, you have a ton of different combinations, new abilities and new spells that you can go in towards, and new honor talents for PvP to check out, because a lot of honor talents are now baseline talents. So there's new combinations that you can get there. So for me, it's still carrying forward all of the amazing elements that it had previously, with a bunch of new stuff thrown onto it. So it's a very easy S tier for me for one of the most fun healers. Now, Preservation Evoker. This is a really easy one. Like, it's kind of just speaks for itself with how much I've talked about it. But if you haven't heard me talk about it or rant about it, then okay, here we go. Get ready. Buckle up and get ready. This healer is fantastic. You are super mobile. It fits exactly with the fantasy that you'd expect to, with the dragon, just constantly navigating with your mobility around the map to try and make sure that you're in the most advantageous position as possible. I love, although it's a limited amount of crowd control, things like the landslide, aiming the root and trying to land it is something that's completely unique to basically any class. It's a super fun experience to try and fly around and land these roots. And then trying to immune crowd control with the dragon deep breaths, and then the healing breath as well. The way you want to navigate your healing rotation with Echo is completely unique to any healer that's in the game, any class that's in the game. It's a completely unique experience. And the talents are really tough for me. Like, even myself, I'm getting pretty close now to 2400 in Arena, and I'm looking at other Evokers, and everybody is like playing different things. Nobody's playing exactly the same thing. So that's really awesome about the Evokers, different ways to tailor it, different things to experiment with and try in different scenarios. So limitless potential. It's completely new. It has a huge skill ceiling for you to push up towards and advance. You're never going to finish any sort of content that you're doing and think that you did everything absolutely perfectly. Does good damage as well as healing. That's something that's nice as a healer. So pretty easy to be putting it up here onto the S tier. Now, Holy Paladin, I was surprised because I've been recently logging on it, checking it out, and this spec is one that I think has the most potential for exploration. I think that people have not 100% locked into what is possible. One of the things, at least for PvP, is that you have access to Ret Paladin talents now. It's the Reckoning talent, so that you can activate Avenging Wrath when you Judgment, and there's baseline talents that allow you to extend Avenging Wrath when you use Judgment. And I was kind of leaning into trying, and I'm going to experiment more with it because this is still unexplored territory, but like an Avenging Crusader Legion style of play of Holy Paladin, because Tyr's Deliverance is also coming back, which was that really powerful heal over time effect from Legion Holy Paladin, and maybe moving away from being a hard casted Paladin and focusing more on the Avenging Crusader side, because that kind of shifted out of play for a while, at least in PvP. And I'm very curious to check it out, because that could be a lot of fun, just proccing Avenging Wrath, extending them, doing damage, getting into the fight and attacking people, like kind of like a Shotgun playstyle. That could be a lot of fun. So there's definitely possibilities here for it, and it's got returning abilities from the past that are excellent. Unfortunately, for me at least, a lot of the new introductions to this are focused around kind of like Consecration, pad AoE heals, which I'm sure are going to be great in AoE heal environments in PvE, but not so much in PvP, and I'm not very excited about them for that reason. So it's probably coming in a little bit lower. Maybe this is too high of a rank, honestly. I'm not sure, but I got really excited when I was reading these things about trying them. You have other tools that are going to make you powerful. You've got 1 minute cooldown sacrifice. That's really powerful. I'm curious to see how that ends up playing in competitive play, but it's one that's really unexplored. But when I was just looking at it, reading through the talents and thinking about ideas for it, it felt like, wow, there's going to be a lot to this that I think people will figure out over time. So definitely on my radar. Now for Holy Priest, unfortunately, Holy Priest is not grabbing me a lot. You've got some abilities returning from Legion, like the Naru spawning when you're healing, and you have Imperial Blaze, which is a new talent, which is going to make your Holy Fires just basically like 3 chain instant Holy Fires together for a lot of damage. But aside from that, it's not really much different. So if you're getting bored of Holy Priest, it's getting trite, and you might not want to be locking yourself into Holy Priest again. But if you never played it before, it is a super fun healer, especially with the way that Prayer of Mending bounces around the battlefield, getting big Serenity heals out. You've got a long range stun. You're the only healer that has access to that, which can be a really good time. It's performing well, but I can't say that when I was looking at it that I'm like, my creative juices were flowing. It was kind of low in that regard. While it's a well put together healer, it's going to fundamentally work for you. It's just not really grabbing me at the moment. Mistweaver Monk, similar deal. I haven't really noticed a lot of new stuff. I was really hoping for a fist weaving build. Unfortunately, the direction that they've taken the fist weaving build, it's probably going to be a lot of fun in PvE, but not really a lot of fun in PvP, because again, it focuses around Phalanx Stomp. Way easier to keep monsters inside of Phalanx Stomp because they go where you go than it is to keep players inside of Phalanx Stomp, because they usually go where you don't want them to go. I was really hoping for some type of fist weaving play to end up working out with this, at least in PvP, and I don't think that that's going to be the case. And I think that eventually, if it's just kind of like sit in the back because your throughput is really high and spam heal, that it'll be the most boring healer in the game. So for me, I'm not really excited about it. I think Evoker does the baseline of what Monk does and like so much more on top of it. Like, it's a staggering difference in terms of fun. Now, performance are probably going to function close to the same in competitive viability, but you'll notice a stark difference in fun overall. So kind of disappointed, at least for myself personally, for the Mistweaver. Again, in PvE, that fist weaving build is probably going to be a lot of fun, do a lot of damage, but in PvP, we're coming down a little bit lower. Resto Druid, this one has some possibility for experimentation. Nature's Vigil doing damage, possibly some balance affinity shenanigans. Do like the customization between like what spells you want to focus on, Wild Growth, Rejuve, or Life Bloom, to specialize in, and knowing what situations to specialize in those spells will be best suited for you. So definitely some good customization. They've incorporated ways to get more meaningful damage out of the class as well, which is awesome. So definitely excited to check it out. I'm a bit worried that it ends up just being a healer that sits in the back and heals and doesn't really get too aggressive. So just because of that, I'm hesitating to put it a little bit too high on the list. Maybe that's just because of my own personal bias towards it, how much experience I have on it. But it's definitely better than the Mistweaver or the Holy Priest in terms of, you know, different build options that I've seen so far that I'm excited about. And I'm curious to see if it's possible to make some sort of balance affinity style of play work, but generally it hasn't in the past. Thankfully, they added Rake Stun back to Rake. Resto Druid would have been a lot more boring if they didn't do that. So thankfully they did that. Maybe it's somewhere between A and B for me right now. I think this one has a little bit of personal bias towards myself at the moment. Resto Shaman. Now this one, not exactly a top performer, at least in PvP. It's got a lot of direct upfront damage with access to elemental shaman abilities like Stormkeeper, which are super fun to press. And you also have Thunderstorm to knock enemies away and Lightning Lasso. You basically just boop all the fun spells that Ellie Shaman have. Now you got his Resto Shaman, so that's really cool. Generally, I was focusing my builds around Riptide, trying to remain as instant cast as possible. The totemic spells to reset your totems, really cool to try and think about how you want to, which totem you want to reset in any given scenario. It's usually Earthen Wall Totem. And then do you want to use them both at once? Because you can actually get 2 Earthen Wall Totems at the same time, or do I want to split them up into the future? How exactly do I want to be using these Earthen Wall Totems? Or maybe I want a Healing Stream Totem in this given situation. Definitely a lot more play around totems. Really like the incorporation of direct damage for the specialization. I think being aggressive with this spec is going to be a lot of fun, although you're probably going to struggle. Again, this isn't a performance list, but it's definitely fun to play, going on and getting lightning bolts out with Stormkeeper, trying to get lava bursts, trying to navigate where you want your totems to be, which totem you want to use. Now it's equally probably going to come with some frustration, especially if you're doing any solo queue PvP, because a lot of your totems require positioning from your allies and they go all over the place. So it's a lot of fun, but it's probably going to bring some frustration with it as well. But I love the balance of offense and defense, always trying to min-max your global cooldowns, differentials, and build options towards the specialization. So definitely up there, a lot of new and old merged together really well. Other than that, that's the list here. Most fun healers that I'm most excited about. Maybe Holy Paladin's too high. Am I really excited about Holy Paladin? Maybe I ranked it too high. Maybe something like that. Like, if I was going to play the healers in order, I'd probably go in this order and then have them all played. Yeah, okay. We shifted around. I reconsidered my options here. This is only going a little bit lower because I think it's still unexplored. And as I explore more, hey, on my stream, that's in the description down below. We'll see how much fun it is overall. So this is probably more of a fair assessment given my current understanding of the circumstances towards Holy Paladin. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Leave it with a thumbs up, comments down below with your thoughts. What healers are you looking at checking out? What classes are you looking at checking out, so we can all kind of get our creative juices going here and make the best decision for ourselves when we pick our character moving forward into Dragonflight. Other than that, I will see you in the next video.